Based on sales figures, The Sims 4 wasn't a total flop, but they certainly used up the community's goodwill. The community isn't going to tolerate another rushed, half-baked game. No one wants the game to flop, so what features will make this game a must-buy? If you had no idea that The Sims 5 was coming out, then you missed my last video where I tore apart 2 clickbait articles and actually used information and tidbits that the gurus have talked about in the last few years to pinpoint when The Sims 5 is actually going to be coming. It's a very interesting video, so I highly recommend you check it out after this one. What are some must-have features for The Sims 5? I'm sure my list probably looks a little bit different than yours, but I would be glad to hear some of your must-have features down in the comments below. So let's get started with my very first thing that The Sims 5 must have. Actual in-depth babies and toddlers. I'm pretty sure in the history of The Sims 4, no one has ever uttered these words. Oh, I just love the babies in The Sims 4. I never ever want to go back to actual babies. I love them being an object. I'm pretty sure no one has ever said that. So it is not out of the reach of reality to want better babies, or at least to go back to how it was. Because the babies in The Sims 4 were probably made that way because of time constraints or budget constraints, and well, I'm sure no one is asking for them to come back because most people don't like that babies are objects. Toddlers, on the other hand, they did a good job with toddlers, but there's just some weird things that I think need to be addressed. Like toddlers don't crawl, they actually start out walking. That's a little bit odd. I would appreciate if they actually crawled and then you taught them how to walk and it just wasn't teaching them how to run. No. Not quite hit the mark there, but you're definitely heading in the direction that I think most Simmers want to see. I'd also like to see some of the premium items from the Sims 3 store return to the game, like playpens and changing tables and swings, but I'd also like them to be in the base game because we need a bit more than cribs to make babies feel fleshed out and fun to play with. Next on my list is children, teens, and elders need to have distinct life states. I don't think anybody is actually going to argue with me about that because any sim that is not an adult is basically left out in the cold. Children have the same 4 aspirations that they had when the game started 5 years ago. Teens are almost indistinguishable from adults and have a few restrictions to make them more teen-like, and elders, well, all they do is stand around and crack their back and complain about how bad their body hurts. Aches and pains are part of getting old, but there shouldn't be moodlets in the game that tell you you can't do things you love that you just did a day prior because now you're an elder and you might drop dead. All the life states that aren't adult need to be fleshed out and need to have something that makes them unique. A lot of us would love to play something other than a partying young adult all the time. Next on my list is better AI, and I know this might be a little bit controversial because some people think The Sims 4 has the best AI ever. I'm currently working on a video testing the AI of The Sims 4, so I'll keep a lot of my remarks saved for that video, but there are some places that I think the AI can be tweaked to be better. We all have experienced simulation lag, where they just stand around doing nothing, just kind of like doing the idle animations, just waiting. That needs to be addressed. There's some kind of problem there that is causing the breakdown of the AI. This simulation lag happens with children, it happens with adults, it happens with pets, so there is something in the background that is broken and needs tweaking. There are also odd things that the AI does that need to be addressed. I remember vividly playing in the Spencer Kim Lewis house and my sim going all the way up 3 flights of stairs to go to a bathroom, to chop some vegetables, and then coming all the way back down 3 flights of stairs to the kitchen to continue cooking. I'm like, why are you doing that? That's a little bit weird. I know a lot of people don't like when their sims wash their plates in the bathroom. I wouldn't like that too much either. We've had a very long history with musical chairs and sims just not being able to sit down in a chair and eat a meal like a normal sim. There are a lot of shortcomings that just make the AI look sloppy, and we need to address some of this before we get to The Sims 5. I really don't want to see all these problems and more come to a brand new game. I think a lot of people would like the return of the next thing on my list, the return of memories, fears, wants, likes, dislikes, and they better have some kind of impact on gameplay. They shouldn't be cute little things that you can enable and then they do nothing, like they used to in The Sims 3, where you could do zodiacs and favorite colors and favorite foods and favorite music, and it really didn't make a difference. No. These need to have some impact because they make the game world richer. Enemies need to be enemies. They don't need to be pissed off friends that call you and say, hey, you want to come out? I think you're spicy. They would want to punch my lights out and hate my guts, and I would like to see a return of that. The Sims 4 is sorely lacking in things like this, and it really does show. You have no permanence in the world. When you exist, you don't matter, and when your Sims die, it doesn't matter that they died to the grand scheme of the world. We really need more things like memories, fears, wants, likes, dislikes to spice up our interactions with other people, to make us feel like we're making a difference or changing our world for the better or for worse. We want our families to miss us, our enemies to fear us, our wants to be more than just buy X or buy Y, our likes and dislikes to shape who we fall in love with and how we spend our time. Our Sims' lives are very lackluster without these things, and they need to make a comeback. The next item on my list fits nicely with the last one, consequences. We need some kind of consequences to our Sims actions. Right now, it doesn't matter what you do in the world, no one cares. Sure, we have a little bit of a reputation thing, but really does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Not really. You steal someone's spouse and they'll talk to you in the street. Maybe they'll even smile at you. It's like it didn't even matter at all. And the last thing you want to tell people is all their actions, all their effort, all the time that they put in your game has no impact whatsoever. Next is the return of burglars, repo men, nannies, firemen, policemen. All of this needs to be in the base game. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have had the moment where our sim is on fire, there's no one else at home, and you're thinking to yourself, boy, I really wish there was a fireman coming in here and putting my sim out right now, or wishing for nannies so our sims could have a break and waiting literal years for them to be added. I was never particularly attached to burglars, but I know that other people would like to have that to spice up their game, and what comes along with that, policemen to chase them. We've seen how dull the game can get without these basic NPCs, and they really should be in the base game in the next game. We shouldn't be waiting years for these necessary sims to be added or never added at all. The next is a fan favorite, the color wheel. It really needs to come back. If the gurus actually put some time and effort and planning into it, I am fairly sure that they could come up with a non-laggy, buggy version of a color wheel. They did it for cats and dogs, so what's stopping them from making it for Sims, clothes, and furniture? I'm not saying we have to go gung-ho with all the patterns and stuff we had in The Sims 3, because frankly, some of those patterns were really ugly, and I wish I could remove them and get them out of my game. A simple color wheel so we could have the colors that we want, make things actually match, because we are sorely lacking in things that match in The Sims 4 right now. It would bring a lot of uniqueness and individuality back to the game. Next on my list is more objects, especially objects that can be interacted with in the base game. I don't think anybody is going to argue with me that The Sims 4 had very little stuff in it when we first got the game. If you didn't like the two styles of furniture, then you were basically out of luck. It really seems like they made just enough furniture to fill the townies' houses, and that's all you got. It took years to get other types of furniture, and that's just waiting way too long. I'm not saying the base game should have all the types of furniture in the world, but more than a couple would be a good idea. Not everybody wants to build with Victorian furniture. Not everybody wants to build with modern furniture. We need more variety of things. And we also need things that our Sims can interact with. I'd like to see more unique items and less retextured chairs. Next on my list is, if we're sticking with closed neighborhoods, and we know EA wants to do that probably to mitigate costs, the neighborhoods have to be bigger. You can't just slap 2, 3, 4 lots and be like, that's it, that's what you get. Sorry, this game needs to be larger and there's no excuse for the teeny tiny neighborhoods anymore. Windenburg is ginormous compared to other towns with over 30 lots. Why did you stop making these lots? If you ask EA, they say, oh, it's so we can have a smoother experience. If you ask me, it was probably done to cut costs because smaller towns eat up a lot less resources, and we know how EA likes to cut corners when it comes to making games. And last on my list, more things to do outside the house that actually have some depth to them. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to compare The Sims 3 to The Sims 4. In The Sims 3, there were tons of things to do outside the house. Giant parks, shopping, libraries. The Sims 4 does not have that same feel. Yeah, you can go to a library, but what is there to do there? Play on a computer, read some books. You can do that at home. There's really not anything special to going to the library. Yeah, you can go to a bar too, but really, what's the point? You go there and the NPCs will glitch out the bartender. The bar will just stop working for no reason. There'll be just people everywhere trying to get drinks, stealing your drinks. Honestly, and this is just me, you may not agree, but I almost prefer it to be a rabbit hole so that I don't have to deal with that crap all the time. For many players, myself included, we never leave the house because what's the point? There's nothing special to going to a venue or a lot. It's just a waste of time and some aggravation. So why not just stay home, buy whatever we want for our lot, and enjoy it in the comfort of our own home, far away from the NPCs that will drive you bonkers. I'm probably not going to be the only person that says that kind of defeats the purpose of a life simulation game. You know, people usually get out and about and do fun things in the world, but if you don't have fun things to do in the world, then there's really no point. And that's kind of sad, because venues and lots were staples of other games. You would go there, you would mingle, you would buy things, and Sims 4, there's really no reason to go anywhere. Do you have any other must-have features for The Sims 5? Let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.